And now,
Well, good afternoon. It is officially past noon, and we want to welcome everyone to the Google Hangout with the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. This is actually our first one, and we had the pleasure of having John Kerr, who's a seasoned person in the strategic communication solutions, but more than that, into economic development. And I'd like to thank John for being here with us. And one of the things that we want to do is just to, we had a fantastic economic forum on May 16, and we definitely want to continue the talk and getting people more engaged so that all those wonderful talk about the opportunities, they just don't stay in the air, just words that were said and excitement for half an hour and then back to business as usual. But rather, how can we integrate technology and how can we integrate all the ideas and what people are thinking so that way we can come up in a more unified way and really achieve the economic development that we all want. Not the one that we read on the news like happening to a third person, but rather the one that we want to be the protagonist in that movie. So with that, John, thank you so much for being here with us. How are you today, John?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Absolutely. John, can you please just introduce yourself and just give us a little about your background and your amazing experience over the years in the economic development arena, please?
Sure. My name is John Kerr. I'm Vice President of Strategic Communication Solutions. We're a consulting company in Novi, Michigan. We actually have two firms. One that's called Strategic Public Affairs that handles government relations and government affairs work for a variety of clients, many municipalities in southeast Michigan, but also other nonprofits. And we also have a company called Strategic Communication Solutions that provides economic development support services to those same clients, predominantly municipalities in southeast Michigan, many of whom are confronted with the same development opportunities and challenges that were brought up during the conversation we had a few weeks ago at the DAC, talking about the future of the auto industry and opportunities for suppliers and where we're headed in the next round of our economy here. Prior to joining Strategic Communication Solutions, I was the Economic Development Director for the Detroit-Wayne County Port Authority for 13 years. And in that capacity, I oversaw many of our grant writing programs, grant management programs, and a lot of our projects that we advanced to facilitate the development of the port and the cargo, approximately 18 million tons of cargo that crosses the docks in Detroit each day, a lot of which is foreign steel that goes to supplement the auto industry. So as the auto industry ebbed and flowed, so did the port. So we had a different viewpoint and had a different perspective on the economy and how things proceeded. We saw the impacts that national policies had on our auto industry locally and then on suppliers locally too. So one thing I took from the discussion at the DAC from our guests was, just the role and the impact government programs can have on the private sector and in investment trends as it relates to the auto industry and suppliers. And so with that introduction, I look forward to some conversation, Camille.
Absolutely, thank you. And what a fantastic background. And I think I'm definitely going to continue the conversation with you in a different topic later. Not today, but we're definitely going to have to talk about the new bridge and how's that going to impact. But let's go back to this. So I'm going to give you some of the talking points that were discussed by Ellen Hughes-Cronwick and Sandy Barua. Ellen is, needless to say, the chief global economist for Ford Motor Company. So she definitely has an insight into what's happening here and outside in the whole world. And Sandy Barua, pretty much the person who is working closely with the Governor Snyder, with Major Duggan, and the Tri-County here. So he definitely knows what's happening from the beginning locally here. So they talk about technology, how is that affecting the current manufacturing trends. They talk about minimum wage. They talk about the growth in Mexico, the relationship U.S. and Latin America regarding business. They also talk about more here about the regional collaboration in Michigan, and immigration reform as well, but which is something that is right now a hot topic, but not controversial as it used to be. Now it's just a hot topic because it's something that it relates 100% with economic development and the need for talent in Michigan. And then ultimately, Ellen, she closed with something quite interesting about the national debt and what's going to happen in end of this year into next year with the interest rate, and that has going to affect our decision making, but it all in a positive way. So let's jump into more about what's happening around us in Michigan. And one of the things that you and I were talking prior to this, it was the manufacturing community here in Michigan. So if you can please, let's elaborate until some of the other members arrive to the conference here. But let's talk about that. Tell us about this that you're bringing to our attention about the new manufacturing community, of which Michigan is one of the 12 communities nationally. Can you kind of give us a little introduction and then
yeah,
can jump in?
Absolutely. Many of you may have seen recent news. You know, a few weeks ago, U.S. Secretary of Commerce Penny Pritzker announced that Wayne County, Michigan was going to be one of 12 communities nationally that will be designated what they're calling manufacturing communities as part of a federal initiative that's called Investing in Manufacturing Communities Partnership. And I think, Camille, you're actually having a discussion with Bryce Kelly, who's the director of Wayne County Edge, I believe tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. There's a reception in place. And Bryce has been leading this effort, and the idea here is to accelerate the resurgence of manufacturing in communities nationwide by supporting the development of long-term economic development strategies. These strategies would allow communities and give them assistance in attracting and expanding private investment in the manufacturing sector and thereby increasing international trade and export. The designated communities will receive coordinated support for their ongoing economic development strategies from 11 federal agencies and then a dedicated federal liaison at each of these agencies to help them navigate what's available from the federal government as far as resources go. So one of the questions I had, and this is of particular interest to me being an economic development practitioner for those on the call, and I think this is a question that spans whatever industry you're part of, whether you're from the public sector, whether you're from the private sector, but if you had open access to any federal instrument or any type of federal support, and that could be through workforce training or infrastructure financing, or perhaps it's working capital, access to capital, what would it be and why would you need that? Because I think it's going to be important for people like Bryce to hear, and it's important for me to hear, for people who are participating, and for those that heard the discussion at the DAC a few weeks ago. If you had, Detroit, Wayne County is getting an open ear from the federal government more so than it has in many years. So what should we be doing to grab their attention? What are the resources we can really use here on a local level? I'd be interested in people's thoughts.
Okay, well, we're going to ask our technology moderator, Peter Vasquez, to let us know if there's more people out there that can answer that, to have access.
Well, so far we have Deborah, and we had Keith just a minute ago, but we do have some viewers, and we're constantly inviting new participants to join. So I think for now we could start off with Deborah. What's your viewpoint on that topic?
It's really stormy here at my house, so my internet connection is going in and out, so I'm only getting like every other word. So when John was talking, I really didn't get most of what he was talking about, unfortunately. I'm sure he was saying something very riveting, but like I said, it's really storming at my house, so my internet connection is kind of going down.
Okay, but I actually, John actually sent these questions to me a couple of days ago to review, and it couldn't come at a perfect time. As he said, the chamber, we're planning to meet with Wayne County official Bryce Kelly, who is director of the EDGE program. And this is something that is going to actually make more enthusiastic the conversation tomorrow. I thought that just by bringing Cuban coffee and tres leches cake would have been just good enough, but now to it. But once again, that is what we're doing this event today. And is how can we get people engaged through technology so that we all are aware of this? Because otherwise, we would have to wait until we go to a special event that you have to pay $100 to finally listen that that initiative is taking place, and then you forget about. So I'm so glad that you included this as one of your main topics of discussion. Me personally here, I think our members in the chamber, these are people that are growing and they want to grow. So two things that they need is capital and workforce training, those two. So if I were to answer the question, I said, give me those two federal agencies, and I think they'll be happy.
Yeah, and I think, Camille, if nothing else, I think that your members and those who are listening and watching today should keep this in mind. I mean, this is a fairly new initiative. Bryce is unveiling this thing as we speak. It's a partnership. It's a true partnership regionally of all the different economic development agencies. We actually have a key liaison from the Department of Commerce who is going to be helping us navigate through the different federal agencies. So I think that this would be a great opportunity for your members and for those listening to start to weigh in on some of the things that they think might be helpful. If you have something, if it's access to capital, if it's workforce training, these are the types of things that I know people like Bryce want to hear, and collectively through the chamber here, through the Hispanic Chamber, we should be perhaps organizing and prioritizing some of these things that we need to advance our requests up the chain to Washington, D.C. So this is a new program. It's just in the beginning stages. There's going to be a lot of attention focused on Southeast Michigan. There's going to be a lot of outreach for those in the private sector who think they can contribute to certain investments in the region. So I think it's important for everybody to keep their eyes open, and if you're looking to diversify or expand your business or your operation, I'd encourage you to talk to Wayne County Edge. I'd encourage you to talk to the Detroit Regional Chamber, Sandy Barua. I'd encourage you to talk to the MEDC, because I'm seeing unprecedented cooperation and collaboration from the federal government to advance and grow jobs in this area right now. We're very fortunate.
John, one of the things that I recap from the May 16 event, Ellen Hughes-Cromwick, she mentioned that the automotive sector is contributing 13 cents for every dollar of our GPD. And then the multiplier is 10. That means for every automotive job, we're creating 9 other jobs. So I think that's huge. I mean, you think that has something to do with this initiative to single out Michigan to be one of these 12 communities nationally?
Well, there's no question. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion lately about reshoring and bringing jobs, bringing industries back into the U.S. here that were perhaps being looked at abroad in places like China. Transportation costs have risen, energy prices have risen, labor costs have risen, while a lot of those things have actually reduced back here locally at home. So I think the federal government is looking and seizing on this opportunity to perhaps look at what we did best here for many years, and that's build things and manufacture things. So I think they are looking to capitalize on those recent trends. You heard it from Ford at the DAC a few weeks ago. And again, I think this is why this is a fantastic time to be getting assistance like this from the federal government. I think it's going to be, the onus is on us now to articulate what it is our needs are and how we can best capitalize on this opportunity to manufacture things again.
That's great. And I think there's a couple of topics now that we're talking about capitalizing investment here. And let's take it now to another topic that was discussed on May 16th, and it was the immigration reform. And the angle, pretty much led by Sandy Barua with that regard, was more about the same that the governor is promoting, which is skill education. We're training individuals here in Michigan, in our universities, that then after they complete their studies, then they go back to their country of origin. But then we have a need here of jobs. So what they're trying to do, what the government is trying to do here locally, is how can we keep these students? So with that said, what is your view on that, John? As far as managing, how can we make Michigan attractive, not only for the investment, but also for the potential employees? And then your view on the immigration playing a role in that as well.
Well, yeah, I think there were two statistics that stood out to me during the discussion we had a few weeks ago, and one of them was what you mentioned, the economic impact had by investment in the auto sector at 13 cents on the dollar. I think you just referenced it. But the other lasting statistic was mentioned by Sandy, dealt with the jobs multiplier, if you will, that immigrant entrepreneurs have on the economy. Those that do study here and develop companies here, they're big-time job producers. And I think that's why you've seen Governor Snyder, you've seen Mayor Duggan, you've seen many political leaders within the state of Michigan here supporting the concept of reshoring and bringing investment back here. The governor recently established a statewide EB5 center, and that has been a tool that's been around for decades, but it's starting to gain tremendous steam in the economic development world with the idea of encouraging investment in infrastructure here, upwards of $5-10 million and up in exchange for visas for family and for others involved in the investment. It's a way to encourage real estate investment. You're seeing it in particular used in China, and you're seeing a lot of Chinese investment locally here. But you're also seeing part of the reason you're seeing that investment, it's not simply to access American industries, but it's to access the relationships that many of these American industries have abroad in places like Mexico and through Central America and other places. So Michigan is a multicultural region, thankfully, and I think we're seeing policies that encourage more of it. Again, I think in part it's because of the cost of doing business abroad, but I also think that we're reshaping policies that help encourage entrepreneurialism and to retain the talent that is studying here locally, and I think some of these programs like EB5 do just that.
That's great. So now let's switch gear to something cool and trendy, because I think those are the two of the many words positive that are describing Detroit nowadays. There's something that you brought to my attention that I really like that you brought that up, and it's an initiative that was announced by Mayor Duggan, according to what you wrote here, and it's called Innovation Districts. Something about vision for growth, the pursuit of talent and technology, and the promotion, this is what I like the most, of an inclusive growth, all within a confined physical boundary. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how, you have the Chinola, you have all these incubators going on, you have the technology, you have kind of like Detroit becoming the new Silicon Valley of the Midwest, right? Can give us an update to what's really happening here? Because I think it's something cool, trendy. I think has a very powerful social economic impact, and I think that's something that we can utilize to our advantage to make Detroit an attractive place to bring others, the young leadership that wants to be part of this thriving town. So give us more details about that, John, please.
Yeah, no, it is a trending term, a trending phrase, if you will. This also happened within the last week or two. Some of you may have seen the press conference with Mayor Duggan and Bruce Katz from the Brookings Institute talking about innovation districts. And Silicon Valley was referenced as one of these 12 examples nationally of places where they're seeing this exciting and dynamic mixture of public and private partnership taking place in a confined physical boundary, but a place where ideas emerge with investors and assets. And I think what's intriguing, what's intriguing to me, that program today doesn't necessarily bring money with it. It's more of an identifying a symbolic, it's an identifier of a particular district in Detroit, and in this case they were referencing the area in Midtown Detroit near Henry Ford Health System and the DMC and Techtown and Wayne State. You have this, eclectic group of individuals and businesses and investment. But I think what the takeaway is, and particularly for membership from the Michigan Hispanic Chamber and how it relates to the discussion we had a few weeks ago, is could a concept like this be applied more broadly to other industry sectors? And I've made the case that you could do something like this in terms of transportation, where you have this convergence of industry sectors. But I think for all of us, for everybody in their day-to-day business, no matter what company, or whether it's retail, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's high-tech, whatever type of business that you're involved with, who are the people that you would seek to collaborate with, or what is the network that you need help making inroads to? I'd be interested in that because, as you mentioned, these districts are really, when you strip it all down, it's a network and the encouraging of the encouragement of the development of these public-private partnerships, and encouraging growth and encouraging the hiring of workers, either low-income workers or people from the surrounding area, the surrounding neighborhoods, to help you advance what it is you need to do. So it's creating that environment for investment. And so, one of the questions I did pass along to you, which, again, as an economic development practitioner, I'd be most interested. I understand how this model works around Midtown. But my question is, and this is one I would pose to the leadership around Metro Detroit, it's how can we apply a model, if that's the model for success, and if that's what's trending and what's putting Detroit on the map as far as, creating that environment ripe for investment. What would you suggest? What would your members, what would the listeners to this broadcast right now, what would be their suggestions to advance similar concepts within their own industry clusters, or within your section of town, or within your part of the state of Michigan? I think that's where the rubber meets the road. I think that's going to be our next challenge as economic development practitioners, is to nurture this type of growth we're seeing in Midtown, but applying it to other parts of the area.
I think that's actually a great topic to continue,
Could have another Google Hangout on that one.
Absolutely. I think you just baptized, this one, and gave us a reason for having the next one pretty soon to continue the talk on this one. Well, we have come to the mark of the hour here at 12:30, but I definitely want to thank Peter Vasquez. He's the president and CEO of Echo Brand Media. Peter has been working with us very closely in our technology. Peter, after this, you can actually go back to sleep, because I know you haven't slept at all, just trying to have all this ready and neat. And by the way, amazing video promoting this event. So kudos to you, Peter. Thank you so much.
You had to say that on a live Google Hangout.
That's right. That's right.
Very much. Before you go on, let me first I want to recognize some people that had joined, but a couple of them were not able to continue the conversation. But we had Keith Moore from OpenGov TV out in Washington, D.C., who's working with the U.S. Black Chamber of Commerce out there and working on their upcoming event. Matter of fact, he's going to be working with them and also helping them promote the relationship with Google that's out there on the Accelerate with Google program, and also introduce Juliana with Google, who is also on as well. Juliana, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for your support.
Hi, everyone. Really excited to see this happening.
This is just the beginning, but you got to start somewhere.
I want to thank Bill too for joining us as well. I think Bill's on here. He doesn't have his camera on, but Bill Johnson joined us as well. And Bill, thank you very much, and we appreciate your attendance, and we hope to see you on future events.
That's fantastic. Okay, then, and two more things here. Definitely thank you, Google. We have a partnership with Google, and they've been very supportive, and we definitely, and patience too, but we're ready to start rock and rolling. I mean, there's so much to be said, and I think we got to utilize technology to be able to listen to those wonderful things that can help us out. And the other thing is the, excuse me, tomorrow, no, Thursday, for those that are here in Michigan, we're going to have an amazing event at Google at their headquarters in Ann Arbor, Michigan headquarters. So from 6 to 8, please plan to attend to that one if you can make it. And finally, John, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and I'm definitely going to follow up with you so we can schedule our next one. We're going to talk about that you just said. I think it was fantastic, and hopefully we get even more members to come and join in. So with that, everyone, thank you so much. Thank you, and see you next time on our Google Hangouts. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, thanks.